Before we dive in, here's another show you can enjoy in the True Story FM family of entertainment podcasts.
In a world where podcasts are a dime a dozen, one show dares to stand out from the rest.
The Film Board, a podcast unafraid to tell it like it is.
We're here for one reason and one reason only. Downloads.
That's right. We review new release movies because that's what gets people's attention.
But just because we're in it for the clicks doesn't mean we don't take our job seriously.
We're part of the Next Reel family of film podcasts, and we're proud of it.
Our reviews are just as insightful and thought-provoking as any of our other film podcasts.
It's just that this podcast is all about that sweet, sweet SEO.
The nectar squoze from the tree of Bing.
We're only human, but we're also creators.
And creators eat clicks to survive.
So if you want honest, unfiltered opinions on the very latest movies right on opening weekend,
delivered with the self-awareness of a team looking for downloads,
then tune in to The Film Board,
where every download counts, but yours counts the most.
Ever wonder what bridges the gap between your favorite film genres, subgenres, and movements? CinemaScope is here to explore these connections, taking you on a thrilling odyssey through the ever-evolving art of cinema. I'm your host, Andy Nelson, and in each episode, we embark on a deep dive into the forces that sculpt the world of film. From the styles you know and love, like heist films or the French New Wave, to the ones you may not be as familiar with, like Turkish Yeşilçam or Brazilian Nordwesterns, my expert guests and I unravel the complex tapestry of storytelling, style, and innovation that defines the world of film as we unpack the myriad catalysts of change that shape these diverse styles. Whether you're a student of film, a creative professional, or simply a devoted movie enthusiast, CinemaScope is your gateway to a richer, more immersive film experience. Don't just watch movies, understand them, appreciate them, and revel in their artistry with CinemaScope. Subscribe today.
All the Feelings presents
Adulting.
This episode,
relationships.
Welcome, everybody, to All the Feelings, adulting. I'm Pete Wright, and I'm here with the handsome Tommy Metz III.
Oh my gosh, I wasn't fishing, but I like what I caught.
You
Hi,
do.
Peter. How are you this
Hi.
week?
Don't ever call me Peter again.
You
Nobody
really don't
cares
like
for
that. But I call you Peter. I call you Pita. I call you
that's okay.
Peterita. Why don't you like it when I call you Peter?
Do you like it when I call you Thomas?
I'm okay with it because Johnny, who's someone that's going to be coming up later in my segment, Johnny G.D. Giacalone calls me Thomas, and I call him Jonathan. We have a real John Wick.
I like that.
thing.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, you have names for John Wick. I don't think there's a Peter in John Wick.
So why don't you like Peter?
It's actually fine. It's just so jarring because nobody calls me Peter except my mother and my wife.
I have trouble because I generally go, my family calls me T, my friends call me Tommy. Sometimes when people call me Tom, I feel like I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
So I can get that. There is something
you have
a little.
So many variations for your name that are legitimate. Like I would never sign my tax documents Pita. It's not a legitimate nickname, but it's funny. You could go by Tommy or Tom or Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Thomas.
So you have options.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
This bit isn't going anywhere. So let's
no,
go ahead.
I think we really got. So next week we are. Yeah.
Okay. So what are we doing? What are we doing today? We have. You know what? I have a thing. We have to do first. This is unprecedented this season so far. We have some comments from listeners.
From actual people that we're shouting into a tunnel for?
We're shouting into a tunnel at some people. I've got a couple of comments. Here's one. This is one I'd like to thank Darby at Tax Time. That's Darby's name. Darby at Tax Time. Darby says, I once filed my taxes for the wrong year. Not as in, I missed a deduction or forgot to report my freelance income. No, I filed the entire wrong year. I was in a bit of a fugue state, freshly unemployed, one expired carton of oat milk away from a full existential spiral. I found my W-2s. I sat down at my kitchen table with a fistful of gummy vitamins and blind optimism, and apparently just clicked the wrong drop-down menu in TurboTax. A year later, the IRS sent me a letter. I thought, oh God, this is it. They've they found out I've been watching YouTube TV on my ex's login. But no, they just wanted to know why I filed 2021's return in 2023. I read the letter 6 times before I even understood what the hell I'd done wrong. I felt like a toddler caught driving a forklift. And now, every April, I get this tax season PTSD twitch. I check the year on every form like it's a bomb timer because no one tells you that adulthood isn't about knowing what you're doing. It's about hoping your mistakes are boring enough that no one audits them. Love this season's theme, guys. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. That is scary. That seems like something that I would do, of like do all of that work and then sign it Thomas. And then I'm immediately audited. That sucks.
Monty just wrote in saying, I love the theme of this season. You should do a whole episode on adulting shame. Just the whole thing. Not about one specific thing, like how I still don't know how to use the broiler in my oven or fold a fitted sheet. Just the generality of shame that I start feeling the moment I get out of bed and only stops when I lay down again for sleep as soon as I possibly can later. Also, oil changes, insurance deductibles, and whatever escrow is. Thank you, Monty. Jiminy.
Monty, that's great. So he gets up and he's like, thank God I'm still a young... Oh,
oh no.
He sees himself in the nearest bank mirror and he realizes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anonymous has written us is another tax-related one. I avoided doing my taxes for 3 years because I was terrified of getting it wrong. When I finally filed, the IRS owed me money. Adulting is a scam.
Oh, wow. That's fun. That's like finding $20 in your pocket. That's excellent.
That's nice. We have another anonymous comment. This one says, oh, this one's to you. Tom.
What?
Tom, calling you Tom.
Oh, God, I'm in trouble.
This
is the IRS.
I lived in that same Sepulveda death trap. My oven once lit a potholder on fire. We called it the Inferno Suite.
What?
I don't know how to rationalize this comment. Do they know where you live?
Lived? I don't know. This is exciting. Is it signed Woof Woof? Just kidding, Foster?
No. It's just anonymous.
Wow.
That's outstanding. Okay. All right. Hey, Anonymous, if you did live in that same Sepulveda death trap, it'd be great to know your name so we can connect you. Tom would love to reconnect. It's all about friendship. The last comment is from someone named, what is this? Mando? No, that's right. This is from a text message who says, wait, I just found out Pete's tall. I didn't even know he had a lower half.
Right, because you and Mandy's relationship is purely based over Zoom after all these years.
It is. That's all these years we have never met in person. And lest we forget, the last time I went to Los Angeles, the day I arrived, Mandy decided to leave the state and then only came back the day I left. It was timing. So, yeah. Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for sharing your comments on our very first episode so soon. We really appreciate it. Thanks for listening right away. It's awesome to see.
Subset 1.
Friendship while adulting.
Pete, as we have talked about before a bit, I am a bit of a people collector. No,
that's weird.
That makes me sound like Dexter.
Absolutely not starting again. All of this is staying in.
I collect friendships. Let's say that. Good. Some of my closest friends to this day are friends I made in the 4th grade when I moved to Boulder, Colorado. And you and I both share extremely strong friendships with guys from our college a cappella group. And I have found that once someone is in my life and we make a strong connection, it kind of takes a lot to fall out of my life. Not knowing what you were talking about in your segment coming up, would you feel the same about you, or is it different? Like, are you sort of someone that once you're in your circle of friendship, you're there to stay?
I think so. I think so. I mean, I'm someone who that's interesting. And I think this is the subject of I don't actually know what the hell you're talking about today, but I'll tell you where I think you're going. And that is, I'm great with old friendships, the friendships that I've had for years. I struggle with new friendships.
Right.
And
especially as an adult. That is what we're going to be talking about, making new friends as adults. One of the ways that I found a real hack for finding new friends, as we have talked about at length. Some of my strongest friendships as an adult is by casting people in my projects. For instance, avid listeners know that friend of the show and aforementioned texter, podcast host of Make Me a Nerd, Mandy Kaplan, met when I cast her in my short film, Adam and Evelyn. And then I never let her go. Yeah. And then she was a co-producer on a web series that I made, that I wrote and directed, where we cast friend of the show, Johnny G.D. Giacalone. They're all, apparently I only have 2 friends. They just keep coming up around and around. But maybe some of our listeners aren't creeps like me who cast people and never let them out of their orbit. If so, there's a really big question, I think, for all of us. And it does come up a lot. I did a very short amount of research just to make sure that this was a valid problem. And the internet screamed at me. Yes, this is a question that people have. How do you make friends and adults? And why did it seem so easier when you were younger, but harder? Because now you're an adult, you're smarter, you're more stable, you're more mature. Now it should be friend time. But instead, it's so much harder. Do you have a guess? I have an answer. Do you have a guess of why people think it might be, and this is like social scientists, why it's so much harder to make friends as an adult?
God.
I know. I don't mean to put you on the spot.
I'm awash in friend shame right now, because I imagine it's just all of the internal voices saying they'd never want to go to a movie with you. What are you kidding? They'd never want to go hang out. Like you know what? You're too busy with family, and you can't even make time to go to the bathroom alone. Like, what do you think you're going to get in the car and go see someone for real? You don't have that in you. Could I keep going? Yeah,
no,
I won't.
That's good. I have a feeling you're going to keep going, whether or not I cut
in
you
my
off.
head.
Yeah, in your head, I can see that monologue continuing. Well, yes, the inner voice, spotlight syndrome, all of that very much exists. But one of the things that they say, the big difference of when we are younger and older, is frequency. When we were in school, you see the same people over and over again, and it is a relatively social atmosphere. You generally make friends by seeing the same person or people on a regular basis, like daily or weekly. There needs to be frequency, and over time, you become more comfortable with that person or a group of people, that any awkwardness just sort of gets run down. It's different in work. Work is because you are on a clock in a different kind of way, and because you're doing it to live and buy things like medicine and raccoon bait, that you just don't have that ability. And so when I was doing a little bit of research on this, I came across a blog post on AnadV. Have you ever heard of AnadV? It's an anonymous advice column. So anonymous, you write in an anonymous question, and then someone with their name does answer it.
It's kind of like our show.
Oh, it's legitimately our show. Oh no, are we AnadV? There was a blog post by Julia Haskell suggesting that adults need to recreate that school-like atmosphere, that if you're having trouble finding ways to connect with friends, that you have to recreate it where you can run into and converse with the same people over time. She says bars aren't a great fit for that, unless it's like a real neighborhood bar where everyone's going to and everyone knows your name. But trivia nights, for instance, at bars can really work. Or book clubs or hiking clubs. You can use the internet to find ads for these types of get-togethers and start there. That's all great, but I want to make this about emotion, not research, and I want to make it about me. Because while I love that advice, it doesn't help me with my own personal social kryptonite. I would like to think of myself as fairly extroverted and fairly good at conversations, but there's one thing that can really get in my way. We have talked about it before. This is not a test, but do you remember what it is? Because I believe you suffer from the same thing, and I think a ton of people do. If I'm entering a new social situation, what is my kryptonite of when do I become less Tom and more quietest boy superlative? Which
I think it was covered in seasons 1 through 5 of the show, pretty much all of it.
Okay. Too much? Just all of those things?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm afraid that I'm going to walk into a party and there'll be a tail strike. Yeah. that the back of my emotional plane will hit on the ground and it'll go bonk,
and then
bonk,
he'll be
bonk,
saddest boy. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's I need to know at least one other person.
Yes.
In the room. That is just, and is that the same for you? I don't remember.
Yeah. Okay. If there is a sense of familiarity with one or two people in a large group, I can move mountains. If I'm alone and have to meet that first person, I'm a disaster. I'm saddest boy.
Why is that? I completely disagree. I feel like, I mean, that we've talked about, like, that might be my biggest regret of being single, is not having a social wing person to go into things with. That makes me sound also, again, like a Dexter, where I'm just using human puppets to make myself feel better. But give me one person that I know and I feel comfortable meeting anybody else. I will work the room. I do not have the answer for that. Why is that?
Do you know
why that is?
But it's so funny because look, like when you just said work the room, and I'm immediately brought to this experience of feeling like I go to a gathering with another person and that person goes and does their thing and I go do a thing myself, and it's fine. It is totally fine. Just because I know they're there is a confidence booster.
So yeah, because it's not like you have to be lockstep together with each other or waiting for them they can
do their thing. And I just need to know I have an out. Well, I better go check on so-and-so. Oh, it's good talking to you. I'm going to go. And then I have someplace to go. I have an island of safety.
Oh, is that what it is for you?
I think that's part of it.
I wonder if that's what it is for me. I haven't thought about it that way, but it's just so, because we have talked about I have won, I just made a reference to it as a joke, but I won most quietest on like a school trip. And I was like, A, why is that an award? And B, I am just not known as a quiet person, as I just scream into the mic and you have to change the filters. But I've won quietest because I didn't know anyone else. Mm-hmm. We did talk about that. It was Operation Enterprise. Operation Enterprise, whatever. Either way. So I don't know why that is. But I like the idea that maybe it's obviously some sort of social parachute, some sort of safety net that I have. Interesting. Well, I wanted to talk about, I stopped doing research immediately because I got angry at whatever Julia was talking about. That. But I know what works for me when I'm meeting strangers. Say you and I are going to a party. You're out there throwing your business cards around like you do.
Eating them. I eat them.
Eating your own business cards, freaking out. Can I tell you what I have learned about myself and what works when I'm meeting strangers and talking to people for the first time? Mm-hmm. Number one, remember that people like talking about themselves. That's the answer. They're as nervous as you are, and people like talking about themselves. So be enthusiastically interested and ask a lot of questions. If something relates to you or your past, I think you can definitely bring that up as a connector, but then bounce back with a follow-up question. If you were able to just be truly present and ask questions, they will love that. That will be a real connector.
This is a kind of social brain damage that I think we all have, right?
Oh no.
When you go up to somebody and you ask them questions and they start talking about themselves, and at some point you say, "Oh, I share that, or I relate to that experience because this and so happened to me." And then even if you bounce back to them and you're like, "Go on, let's talk more about that," invariably some portion of them are going to walk away and say, "Oh, Pete just tried to make everything about himself." Even though that's all they were doing is talking about themselves.
And
that's right. So that could be really hard because and I think that's one of the pieces of brain damage that I have, which is, knowing when to talk about me and when to rein it in. And sometimes I talk about them so much and ask so many questions that I become exhausting, because all I do all day is talk to other people about themselves.
But you think that you're exhausting to them, that they find you exhausting.
Right.
Well, I think that only happens, personally, if you're just asking close-ended questions, because then it feels like an interrogation. If you're able to
go ahead and give me, so let's do a little role play. Give me some closed-ended versus open-ended questions.
Okay, so let's see. Closed-ended would be, so how many podcasts do you work on?
37.
And do you work on them every day?
Every day.
Okay. And are they all around the same time?
No.
Meaning, do you work the same amount? Okay. And then was it always hard? Was it ever hard to learn what kind of equipment you needed?
Yes.
Okay. And is that because you like to? So those are all close-ended. What I would like to do is always, and as I just said during this episode, bring it up to emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Say, I think, because you work on 37 podcasts, how do you have the bandwidth for that? That seems like it might be really scary or exhausting. Do you enjoy doing all of it?
Yes.
You do. What is like? No, that's okay, because then I have a follow-up.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you enjoy most about it?
There you go. Get me telling a story.
Right.
Like, get me telling a story. What and why questions are exemplary at doing this.
Do you ever get nervous? And like, what do you do when you get nervous doing it? I always sort of bring up vulnerability and talk about how I would put myself in that situation and be like, I would go bonkers like that. So I always have so much, it's very impressive that you're able to do that. How do you, so open-ended questions, keep it emotional as much as possible, and bring up vulnerability of like, I am so impressed because I don't think I could handle that. What kind of, how do you, when do you, all of those things. And then when you're really deeply interested and you're really, because the theory is everyone is interesting. Everyone is interesting. We just never get past that surface level in order to get to the good stuff. The good stuff is not what did you do, it's how did you feel about what you did. That's
if
interesting.
A question can be answered by a yes, no, or a single fact statement, it's not an open-ended question, and you're not going to get stories. And we relate to stories.
Exactly right. So that's this is not a advice. Oh, I guess we are ANADV or whatever that website is called. But that's just how I do it. And it's not like a hack. It's not like I'm tricking things. One of the best things about it is if you are deeply interested, you're not going to be thinking about what you're saying next because you're too busy listening.
Yes.
And you want to know more. So instead of those inner voices telling you, you don't know what you're doing, this person doesn't like talking to me, you're just actually accidentally having a conversation.
Yeah.
And then the only other advice I have is intense eye contact and no blinking. Is that weird? Like never, like you want, and then even if it starts to like get irritated, like a small tear goes down, the way to really listen is to never, ever let yourself blink.
That's really good. That's really good. I wonder what other facial tics or expressions would be useful in that situation. I had a cat once that always would walk around with just the very tip of its tongue sticking out through its closed lips.
Cute.
It's alarming when it's adorable. A human. It's adorable, not for very long.
But you're going to remember it. Like a cat, every once in a while, show my butthole just a little bit. I just turn around a little bit like, hey, and then they're like, celebrate. And I say, but how did that make you feel? I make it about emotion. Exactly right.
It's important to remember the value of stories if your interest is in creating friendships. It's about creating common, discovering commonalities. And I think we forget that as adults because we're busy with all the crap in our heads.
Right. And what do you remember about stories? A lot of it is the emotion. I know I'm just keep using that over and over and over again, but that is what will break through. That is what you will remember about this person is the emotions that they shared, the emotions that you felt together, not what kind of car do they have? As I break down not being able to handle any actual discourse. Car have, garage. Perfect.
We're doing great. Yeah. Okay, go make friends, everybody. You're doing fine. This is it. That's all the learning you ever needed.
Okay, turn off this podcast and immediately go make a friend.
Go make a friend.
Go make a friend. Yeah, that's perfect.
The ancient Romans, those toga-wearing overachievers of drama, had a tradition called damnatio memoriae. It's Latin for condemnation of memory. It was their way of saying, hey, remember Emperor Steve? No? Good, because he never existed. When someone in power really screwed up, murder, treason, voting against gladiator fights, the big stuff, they didn't just get canceled, they got unremembered. Statues of them were smashed. Names were scraped off of monuments. Faces literally gouged off coins like the world's first angry Photoshop job. It was the Roman version of unfollowing someone on every platform, deleting the group chat, and burning their birthday card in a trash can behind a Chick-fil-A in which you would surely never dine. Wink. But here's the thing. It never fully worked. Archaeologists keep finding those scratched out faces, those half-erased names. The Romans tried to wipe people from history, but history is petty. History remembers, even when you don't want it to. Which brings us to adult friendships. We may not wield chisels or declare imperial edicts, but we've all quietly participated in our own version of damnatio memoriae. A friendship fades. You don't talk for a while, and suddenly you're scrolling past their vacation photos like you never wept over their Spotify Wrapped. You didn't end the friendship. You just let the algorithm take care of it. And then one day you stumble across a photo or a song or a coffee shop you both swore had the best sad pastries, and it hits you. The connection didn't disappear. It just lives somewhere softer now, less public, more private, faintly etched on your emotional marble, just beneath the surface. Maybe we don't need to fully scrub people from our histories. Maybe it's enough to let their memory exist quietly, imperfectly, but still there, not forgotten, just renamed. And speaking of things history should totally not forget, have you considered becoming a feeling friend? For just $35 a year or $25 to renew, you get extended episodes, early access, and live recordings of the emotional nonsense we get up to. No chisels, no memory wipes, just the vibes. All you have to do is visit allthefeelings.fun and help us keep the good stuff from fading. And now, back to the show.
And now we return to America's favorite game show about dating apps. It's What's Happening? Now let's say hello to our contestant, Pete Wright. Hello, Pete. Tell the viewing audience something about yourself. Don't ever talk over them. Tell the viewing audience something about yourself.
Tom, I'm happily married, and I got married before dating apps existed, so I don't know what I'm doing here.
Great! These days, more and more adults are turning to dating apps to find potential mates as they get older, and as a result, the amount of dating apps available have skyrocketed. Pete, as you know, on What's Happening, I will give you a one-by-one list of potential dating site apps used by adults when adulting, and you have to tell me if each app name is real or fake. Do you understand?
Yes. Not at all.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's play What's Happening? Hinge.
Real.
Correct. Okay, Cupid.
Real.
Correct. Okay, Stupid.
I'm going to say not real.
Correct. Coffee Meets Bagel.
Not real.
Incorrect. That is real. No. Fish in a barrel. And Inna is spelled I-N-N-A.
Not real. I would never get any action off of that app.
Correct. Plenty of fish.
Oh, that's the twist. Yes, that one's real.
Correct. J-Date.
Not real.
It is correct. I mean, it is real. You are incorrect. It is real for Jewish dating. Lox Club. L-O-X Club.
That definitely sounds like some sort of a fish swap kind of an app. I'm going to say real.
Correct. Again, also for Jewish daters. Wingman.
Not real.
Incorrect. Real. Field spelled F-E-E-L-D.
Not real, please.
Incorrect. Real.
No.
Raya. R-A-Y-A.
Not real.
Incorrect. Real. And it is invite only, and it's only for influencers. Farmers only.
I don't. Real?
Correct. Dentists only.
Not real. That sounds
correct.
Like you.
Fake. Salad match.
Real, and I don't want to know what they do.
Correct. It's not that weird. You pairs you up with people that have the same taste in what kind of salads you like. It's just brunch.
Oh, that sounds calm. I'm going to say real.
Fake. It's just lunch. Money matches.
Not real.
Incorrect. Real. It's for farmers.
Jesus.
Hilly. Hilly.
I'm going to say real, and it's just for people who live in D.C.
Correct. It is real, and it stands for Hey, I Like You. The League.
It's real, but it's only for people who participate in sports gambling.
I don't know about that, but it is real. Handcuff hang.
Wow. Real.
Incorrect. Fake. Bondage pal.
Oh my God. Real.
We're almost done. 3 more.
Real.
Correct. Buddy bang.
Please tell me it's not real.
It is real.
Oh my God.
Last 2. Christian mingle.
Oh, that's real.
Correct. Amish mingle.
Oh, good, Tom. Really?
That is fake. You're exactly right. How many did you get right? I forgot to keep track. Well done. This has been What's Happening. Get out there and app it up. Goodbye.
Subset 2.
Friendships and letting go.
Tom.
Peter, it's me.
Here is the thing, Tom, that no one tells you when you are young, that most adult friendships don't end. They just time out. Like one day you're texting them about everything, right? You're texting memes and venting and random you up texts, right? And how, whether or not they think that, birds know they're birds. I don't know. What are the things you text people at random that are your friends?
Okay. Yeah.
And then somehow it's been 18 months and the last time you had any contact is when they liked like your dog's Halloween costume on Instagram, right? Suddenly just time passes. You didn't mean to ghost them. They didn't mean to ghost you. You didn't even know that you were ghosting them in the first place. But at some point, it's been so long that reaching out feels like knocking on a door you accidentally locked yourself from the inside. You start asking yourself these questions that you don't have clean answers for. Did we grow apart? Did I mess up? Am I a bad friend or just a tired person with 47 unread group texts and a very fragile grip on time? So today I want to just bounce around this idea of a particular kind of emotional clutter, the friendships that didn't explode, but eroded. And I think it's a good pairing with your topic today because it's not about making friendships as an adult. It's about maintaining them in a space of emotional and literal noise in the world. And so these might be, we're talking about the friends you miss, even if you're not sure you need them back in your life, the friendships you think about when you're driving alone or you can't sleep or you find yourself just wondering, hey, what happened to, us as friends?
Okay.
Or friends who got divorced and you ended up out of no intention other than just inertia on one team and not the other.
Yeah.
And
I can definitely relate to that.
Right?
Yep.
So I think my hypothesis is we all carry this at some level or another, quietly maybe, like it doesn't hurt or like it's just being part of being an adult, right? But I do think it deserves more than that, and I think we should talk about it. So can you think about, as I've been, meandering through these thoughts here, can you think about an adult friendship that just sort of faded in your life? What happened?
I definitely can because it's a little white. It's not white hot, but it stands out because there are pretty few of them. As I said, I'm a Dexter people collector.
Yeah.
I collect 2 things, people and children's shoes. Don't ask. But so, yeah, like I am able to think of one that I definitely ended because I believed there was some toxicity going on, and one that just went away. And it was a slow process.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to say who the person is, but yes, I can definitely, it is few and far between, but it is there. Yes.
And just as we're talking, that you've got one on deck that Johnny G.D. Giacalone is on deck for a slow fade. Am I right? In your life, he's just, I mean, starts today. Clock is ticking.
He keeps getting new phones just so he can say new phone who dis. It seems very pointed. Yeah.
I mean, when you think about these slow fades, this is the thing that I find jarring. It's that moment where I realize, oh, wow, I guess we don't talk anymore. Mm-hmm. And I'm surprised by that I realize only suddenly that I'm part of the problem too, right? Sure. That we just don't pick up the phone anymore. And I don't know how to repair or rebuild that. And I often face the struggle of, I don't know how I have the time to repair and rebuild that at this point.
Friendships take work, especially as an adult, and especially when people do have kids and get married. You have to redouble your efforts because you have to sort of assume, I guess I'm just talking about it being a single childless person, but like, I know I have to put myself out there more. I have to be more flexible, more willing to meet them in their terms because they just have more things going on. It's like the difference between like me packing for a trip and people with kids packing for a trip. It's like an all day thing for them.
Yeah.
And they're tripping over things. It's like a sitcom, whereas I can pack for a trip in 30 seconds and that's fine. Right. Granted, I will 1,000% forget pants, but everything else is on lock.
But you're a real go bag kind of a guy. Like you could put together a go bag in March and have it still be completely viable next February and not have to think about it right now.
I'm assuming I'm on the lam at all times. Yeah. I just don't know who's facing me. Yeah.
Yeah. You've got everything you need. You've got potable water, a couple of Blu-rays, and socks.
Blu-rays, and I have that CD collection that we mentioned earlier. In case I go to Mexico.
Right.
One of the things that I really try to, this is a learning experience for me, is you talked about time. How do I find the time to do this? One of the things that I have been working with friends that, that we haven't talked in a while, putting it out there when we talk, we're not going to be going over our entire lives. It does not have to be, because we haven't talked in 2 months, it does not mean it's a 3-hour long conversation. Nobody has time for a 3-hour long conversation. Let's just start checking in shorter, but more often. And just have these, like, I'm on a car ride and I have 30 minutes like I do everywhere in Los Angeles. Try to just have that 30 minutes. Let them know there is an out. And you're not going to take over their entire day. That takes a lot of pressure off, because I think one of the things that keeps people from getting back in touch, and I'm speaking from personal experience, is that feeling of, because it's been so long, the catch up has to be exponentially longer. And that just puts too much pressure on it. It's too much. Is my thinking. Is that helpful for you to think about? Because
no, it is. I think I think it leads me down to different paths. The shorter one is it makes me ask the question, at what point is the relationship harder to maintain than even more frequent, shorter conversations? Because, and we'll talk about this in a second, there is a life cycle to friendships. Like, it's a researched thing. And I often have this, I have a longing to my high school friendships. Like, I have a number of friendships in high school that were as close as any friendship I could ever have imagined in my adult life. And I think about those friendships, just a couple of them, constantly. And we have tried to rekindle them in some way, shape, or form. And we've tried to have these calls, right? These shorter calls, rekindling experiences. And it never takes. It just never takes.
What happens?
There's something to, I don't know. But there's something to the aphorism, you can't go home again, that kind of plays into this, which is just an example of how time does what it does, right? We talk about time and grief all the time, right? Which is like, eventually you will be sort of numb to the really painful experience of grief because time just works that way, right? The edges get softer over years. Same thing happens to friendships, like acute, beautiful friendships. They get soft and dull over years of lack of care. Which leads me to the research part, and there's just a little of it, but I want to reflect some of this with you because I think it's important. There is a Dutch sociologist named Gerald Molenhorst.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. He's done a lot of research on friendships. And in 2009, he released a study that said most people replace half of their social circle every 7 years.
Huh.
How does that hit you?
Not accurate for me, but I guess that makes sense. Why 7 years?
I know. Well, his findings were like, this is not a failure on the part of any of the parties in a friendship. It's just math. It reflects changes in geography, in career, in parenting, in identity, in energy. It's all of the things we're talking about. And it just means that, your friendship has a life cycle. And maybe you're not the one to get to drift on that first 7 years. Maybe you last 14, maybe you last 21. But at some point, lives change enough, generally first and foremost by geography, right?
Sure.
You just move, and moving necessitates changes in the energy we put toward friendships that make it really hard to maintain. And that's okay. That's the bottom line. It's okay.
Oh, okay. So we're not looking at this from like longing or nostalgia or whatever. Because one of the things when you said, the aphorism, you can't go home again, you can. It's just not the same home.
Right.
You can't.
Well, and that's what it's saying. Like you can go to where it was, but it's never what it was to you.
It's never capital H home.
Right.
And when you're in high school, you are just raw emotion. No matter what your standing is. And so the intensity of your relationships, because of the things that I talked about on mine of like, you're more stable, you're more mature, you're not going to feel things in that same red hot kind of way. And so it makes sense that your friendships would feel a little bit smoother and not quite as insanely red hot all the time.
Well, and that his research showed that adult friendships are rooted in context, like we were talking about earlier.
Frequency and
School,
context.
work, parenting, stage of life, like not just emotional intimacy. And once that context disappears, the friendship does too. And it doesn't have anything to do with malice. It's just drift. So that's the first. Now, the next one I think is going to challenge you at your core as a Dexter style collector of human beings. You're familiar with Robin Dunbar, Dunbar's number? Robin Dunbar did some research and found that most people can only maintain around 5 close relationships at any given time.
These numbers are so specific.
Yeah.
7 years, 5 people? Ugh.
They
okay.
are.
5 people. Yeah.
And this one I think is really interesting because Dunbar was talking about, look, there are lots of different, if you imagine a bullseye, right, there are lots of different circles of kinds of friendship. And if you were to start writing out your friends and do that on a bullseye, you might find that your closest friends are right in the center, and you might land on 5. And there are lots of other good friendships and casual friendships and social friendships all the way out to acquaintances. But the ones that are very close relationships, there are 5. Now, what is the implication of this? As life grows more demanding, we naturally reprioritize. And sometimes that means letting go of even what was once a meaningful friendship in order to make space for others. And that doesn't mean that it's, again, full of malice. It just means that things change. It also means that the net impact of losing one close friend out of your, 5 is felt even harder as an adult because of how hard it was to actually move somebody into that space of having a close friendship.
One of the things that I'm stewing about is that there's so many, understandable, nothing is an exact science, but there's so many qualifiers to these things.
Yeah.
There's so many mosts and arounds. Like I keep trying to relate it to myself, and I'm not seeing myself as much in these studies.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm deluding myself. Maybe when I look at all my friends, I'm saying that they're all extremely close. But I mean, 5 closest, that actually seems like a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Especially if you move to a new city, having 5 friends, keeping friends from high school, from elementary school like me, I mean, does seem pretty rare. That I've met a lot of people, especially out here, that I moved out here kind of with a crew. A lot of them have moved out. But, like 5, 6 of us kind of all came from Colorado out to Los Angeles together. And it never occurred to me how incredibly rare and valuable that was until we met people that were adrift and didn't have that. And instead were just these sort of people in this enormous, weird city.
Yes.
And that's why I was always, when I say I'm a collector of people, I also used to be a big connector of people. I wanted all of my different worlds to be one. So all of my friends at work and my friends from college and friends from this and this program, I would try to have them all over to my house with my exploding oven to my apartment. That was like sort of a center base for it. And I think part of that is because I was feeling very lucky that I had those kind of connections. Yeah. I've never really moved to a new city and didn't have some people there.
Right.
Oh, right. Because that's my kryptonite. I think that sounds terrifying.
You have to have people.
Just moving to a new place and not knowing anyone is when I 100% start hoarding. I'm just going to, I'm going to start doing some weird things. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to call your impression of this anomalous because a lot of people don't have that same sort of vibe. And I see you as a collector of people and a connector. And I see that as that is actually your superpower insofar as being alone is your kryptonite. There's a lot of joy that you have out of connecting with a lot of different people to varying degrees. What is interesting as a corollary to the last thing, to, Dunbar, is that the research also shows that there is a strong importance to pruning relationships that no longer bring you joy, alignment, or support, that carrying deadweight friendships out of nostalgia or guilt actually creates some very damaging emotional fatigue. It is healthy to let some friendships go when it's time. The problem is we don't ever really know when it's time.
Right.
And we sometimes wait too long. We're never taught that it's healthy to lose friendships. So we lose friendships in strife or through just momentum or lack thereof. And I think understanding that drifting is normal, it's often mutual, and it's okay that is new to me, and it actually makes me optimistic about some of the friendships that have drifted in my life that I've been thinking, oh my God, what did I do about? But really, the truth is, if I sit down and really think about when those relationships served me best, they were a long time ago. And clearly, neither of us need that relationship anymore to get us through whatever we were going through. Clearly, it's okay. It's okay.
So it's just like a circle of life kind of a thing.
Yeah, it is. And, it's that whole, it's okay not to be a good friend if you're an old friend, right? We'll always have something to talk about if we run into each other at a reunion.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean we need to set up a weekly Zoom.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is nice. I mean, I generally want to regret everything I've ever done.
Yes.
And that's
normal.
Really going to undercut my ability to do that. But I mean, instead of seeing it as sad or scary, I think because I have fears of abandonment, I have fears of being alone, waking up and being alone and not realizing how I got there.
Right.
And
in a bathtub full of ice. Slight pain in your side.
Yeah, just a kidney lighter. that can be scary, but I like the idea of, for once, maybe seeing it as just the way life goes, and there is sort of an elegance to it.
Mm-hmm.
There is just sort of a path, and it's a way. I like the idea of pruning. I hated it when you first said it, and now I kind of like it, because if one of the problems is your lack of time or energy or effort, it's pretty important that you concentrate on the most important ones.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And I like that we're doing a podcast about it, because what I want is all of our current friends who are listening.
Yeah.
I just want them all to know that their days are numbered.
Yeah, the drift is on. It's like Tokyo Drift for friendship.
Drift, but friendship. Yeah.
My plan is to start wearing a shirt with it's almost like MySpace. I'm going to have my top 5 friends, and I'm going to be able to like switch the order and then let one know, like, if it's starting to creep around like closer to my belt, that friendship's on the skids. Yeah.
Like and on your murder board, like names that just like you just take somebody's name off your murder board and put it on the floor.
Yeah.
Just for when they come over.
Oh,
just
did that fall over? Sure.
Yeah. I'll be sure to pick that up later.
Yeah, you just file it around with your collection of children's shoes. Perfect.
We're doing great.
Got to feel in heaven when my lover's near. Lord, let this moment last for another year.
Thank you all so much for joining us this episode. This week's tune is Lover, Please Stay by Stryker Big Band. Coming up next week, Tom, what is it?
Oh, it's that barn burner that we teased in the trailer. We're going to be talking about civic duty. Oh, boy.
Oh, man.
I promise it's going to be interesting. But yes, part of being an adult is life isn't your big recess snack time anymore. You have to do your part as a God-fearing American if you're in America. And
I don't think it's God-fearing. Is it God-fearing? Do we do civic duty because we're afraid of God?
I'm terrified of God all the time. Oh, wait, he's right behind me, isn't he? Yeah, so this civic duty is things like voting, it's things like jury duty. We're not exactly sure what we're going to talk about yet, but civic duty is coming for all of us.
Until then, I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Tommy Metz III. Thank you so much for downloading. We will be back next week with All the Feelings, adulting.
Let it be the night that I've been longing for. Let's fly down south to Austin or to Ecuador, just to drink pina colada on a hot, wet summer's day. Oh, lover,